Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast in a game between Goody versus Violet here on Terminus. Violet spawning as the yellow Zerg player here at what I'll call the 6 o'clock position. Meanwhile, Goody spawning as the purple Terran over here at the 9 o'clock position. So this is going to be Terran versus Zerg. Taking a look at the map, there you do have a full expansion down here, and there are no destructible rocks, so I believe this is the GSL version of the map, and there are many variations of this map. And what this is going to do is it's going to really allow Zerg players to get a third base very easily. It's going to be very easy to defend, and at the same time, based upon the spawning positions, Goody's going to actually have a hard time trying to defend this location to any serious Mutalisk harass, as the units will either be down over here or try to protect this main location on the front door. Now, Overlord already scouting out in the correct direction. Violet now scouting, and most likely going to be scouting in a counterclockwise direction, as an Overlord is going to get in position over here. He is going to spot the... No, he doesn't spot the SCV, and the SCV doesn't spot the Overlord. So it's going to be a little bit of time before these players actually scout each other out. We should be getting in a hatchery momentarily by Violet. This is a much more macro map, and against Terran you can go for that 15 or 14 hatchery first. Now back over here we see a barracks being built in a very curious location. Overlord now still flying. He sees an SCV, but he doesn't know what exactly that is. The Overlord is now going to position itself off over here. Spot the supply depot. Is it going to spot that barracks? That is another question there. It doesn't look like he's going to spot it. No, he will fly off to the north and spot it there. Hatchery now being built by Violet, as we are going into a pretty standard game by Goody. Goody getting up that refinery now. He should be able to start harvesting gas and then perhaps add an add-on here, or perhaps lift off and land over here. Not quite sure why Goody built the barracks in this location. Perhaps he wanted to feign that he was using some sort of cheese tactic, but not really have any cheese tactic whatsoever. SCV now returning all the way back home. Not going to be able to do very much of anything, as a drone now chasing after this SCV. SCV is going to be able to retreat, as a Marine now going to come into position. And now we finally do get a spawning pool. I do not believe that Goody is going to be that successful with any early Marine pressure. There are simply too many drones. Spawning pool about to be completed. This hatchery does have a lot of hit points, and by the time this Marine really does anything at all and this SCV builds a bunker, the Zerglings will be out. Marine just shooting at a hatchery now. It looks like the drones are trying to give chase once more. Drones now attempting to take down this SCV. 2 Marines against 2 drones. The drones will not win out on this fight. 1 drone does get taken down, but we are now going into 8 Zerglings and 1 Queen. The Marines know better than to try to do anything strange, and now walking all the way back home. A factory now being built off over here. We'll see how that is going to be used. We are sitting on a fair amount of gas, no reactor yet, so we'll see what Goody wants to do in this situation. He perhaps could go for an expansion, as he is gas blocked over here by Violet. 1 extractor over here finished, now blocking his opponent. He knows that Goody needs to get an expansion, or just pretty much use Marines and Hellions. Is he going to transition into Roaches? No, it doesn't look like it. Violet not transitioning into Roaches at all. He does have 1 Queen up, and the gas is still being harvested now, as the spawning pool has not yet researched that metabolic boost. 1 Marine on the high ramp, and should be able to just deflect a lot of that damage. A 2nd Marine now joining them, as all those Zerglings are retreating. Now, Violet, unfortunately for him, he did create a little bit too many Zerglings, overreacting to that Marine pressure. And the longer this game goes, the more he's going to wish he had 2 additional drones as opposed to 4 extra Zerglings. 1 spine crawler being built on the front door, as the Zerglings now look to take down this set of destructible rocks. Still no Roach Warren. We are going into a spine crawler and now going into a starport with a command center being built inside the base. And we'll see what the strategy is going to be. This is still a rather curious one. I don't see a tech lab. I don't see any add-ons whatsoever. So it's going to be Marines, Hellions, and perhaps Vikings and Medevacs for now, which is a very gasless build. We are finally going into a tech lab here at the 9 o'clock position. The Zerglings looking to take down these rocks. They should be able to take down these rocks momentarily, perhaps start a hatchery sometime around the 7-minute 30-second mark. A Marine or a Hellion now trying to push its way in is going to take a little bit of damage. Nope, drives back just in time as the Spine Crawler tries to reposition itself. You've got to remember, no ramp into this location here, so this expansion is pretty well protected. Rocks are about to go down. A third hatchery may be placed down, and a 3-base Zerg this early in the game being able to drone up is going to be a very, very dangerous situation for Goody, as Goody may not be able to keep up with the macro. Marines now able to shoot down an Overlord out of the sky very quickly, as we now see Goody lifting off with this orbital command and will be attempting to land at the natural expansion. The medevac on its way over, but there is no combat shield and no stim pack, so Zergling should be able to intercept that very, very easily. Violet now using 3 queens. He is not yet building a hatchery over here. It is a drone going to be now parking itself over there and doing that in just a moment. The medevac down to 54 hit points, already being forced to pull away. We'll see what's going to happen there. We do have 1 Hellion on the front door, and that Hellion preventing this creep tumor from really doing anything, but the Zergies are going to surround it and shoot it down very quickly. Marines now on the high ground, gonna unload all of them there onto the low ground, excuse me, as Goody now puts in pressure and tries to cancel this hatchery. This hatchery of Violet. Wow, just getting tongue-tied today. This hatchery of Violet most likely will just get canceled there. There you go, losing 75 resources. The Zerglings now trying to swarm their way in. The medevac should be able to pick up all of the units. Yes, able to do so, and now fly away. We are teching to tier 2. Harvester count is still 46 compared to 35. Mules are definitely helping Goody at this stage in the game, as the hatchery is now once again being rebuilt. Violet cannot stay even bases for too long, otherwise he will end up behind. But we are now going into double armory, so Goody, who is known for his very, very heavy mech play, gonna continue to do exactly that. Thor's siege tanks and Hellions most likely, as we should be seeing 2 to 3 additional factories being placed down. There you go, there's 2 more factories in addition to a supply depot. We should be seeing Thor's, and this is going to be very, very dangerous for Violet, as Terran mech is very, very powerful, especially if you are expecting Terran bio and going for a lot of Banelings. Banelings exchanging for Thors, not a very good trade. You better hope that you have a much, much stronger economy if you are trading Banelings for Thors. Extractors now coming into play as well. Violet about to be running on 3 bases. Drones now starting to make their way down, as we are going into level 1 weapons and armor upgrades on all of the mech units. The creep tumors of Violet starting to do a very slow spread across the map. 1 Thor is now in production. 2 additional Thors or more siege tanks could be added as well, but another base needs to be established. A command center has been built and now upgrading to an orbital command down over here. We'll see if he tries to take this location, which it looks like he will, or perhaps try to take the center location, which is a little bit more open, but he can place a planetary fortress there and fend off any aggressive Zergling attacks. Roaches are now being added, as missile turrets are also being added by Goody. Goody in preparation of what he believes will be a lot of Mutalist harassment. Command center now landing down over here, orbital command, as we see drones are now at this 3rd base. Zerglings perhaps waiting and just not doing very much of anything. 75 drones versus 54. Violet being a very, very heavy macro player, as Marines are now just trying to clean up creep tumors. It looks like he will be able to. No, he's not going to be able to clean up all too many, as those Zerglings run across the map very quickly. Another creep tumor now being laid down. Those Marines finally jumping inside the medevac there. But additional creep tumors have been re-established, so this creep will not recede all too much. There you go, now pushing back out once more. SCVs finally making their way down into that 3rd base. 74 drones versus 60 SCVs, as those Mutalists are going after a Viking. A missile turret getting in a little bit of damage, but not really shooting anything out of the sky, as the Mutalists are now trying to put pressure in over here. There are 2 missile turrets, and 1 Mutalist may get taken out. No, natural regeneration for the win, but a Thor now making its way over. And I believe these Mutalisk days are pretty much numbered. They're not going to be able to deal too much damage. The Mutalisks are kind of trapped back here unless they fly around the far side. They're going to fly straight past another missile turret, taking 48 points of damage there. And a lot of low hit point Mutalisks. One Thor Blast would be all it would take to really shut them down. Zerglings now controlling this tower here. Violet at 184 food, with still a lot of resources to go, and now a Nidus network being established. So Nidus network will allow his units to attack from multiple locations. That is going to be very difficult, perhaps attacking from here in the fog of war. That is a brilliant strategy. Most Terran players would not think that, hey, there's no rocks here, I don't have to put any units there. Unbeknownst to him, there could be a Nidus worm there if it does come in. You can now see a missile turret most likely going to get cancelled back over here, as we now see Thors and siege tanks, SCV on auto repair, trying to keep up all of those units and keep them alive. Level 2 weapons upgrade and blue flame tech, in addition to tunneling claws, and now a Nidus worm coming in, and it is going to be right here as I imagined. The Hellions now moving off to the north, perhaps trying to do a bit of scouting. And where is that Nidus network established? It is right down over here. There is a lot of roaches. It looks like there is a plenty of roaches to now just all of a sudden swarm out of this location, and still more and more roaches coming out. This is going to be a lot of damage to be had, as a Thor being very smart, trying to back off here. And now another Nidus network coming in along the top side. So Nidus network play just completely destroying the main base in a matter of seconds. And now you can also see Thor is going to get taken down. A Thor just completely surrounded by roaches. The roaches do need to try to run away. You can see that the Nidus network, I believe SCVs were able to take down this with the help of a Thor. All of these roaches need to get away, and it looks like they will be doing exactly that, jumping back into that Nidus worm and being able to live and fight another day. Losses slightly higher for Violet, but now with Goody only running off of 1 or 2 bases, he's not going to be able to just get ahead economically speaking. SCVs perhaps oversaturated here. You can see his income, only 1,200 resources a minute. Not very good at all at this point in the game, as Hellions now make their way out again. A 4th hatchery now being built by Violet. For some reason, laying down creep tumors in a position where he would have to destroy them if he wants to build a hatchery here. And it looks he's going to be triple expanding all across the right side of the map. Hellions are going to be looking for that, exactly that, as now Hellions also running in. Are the Hellions going to be able to get away? No, not able to get away at all. Some workers were killed, but not all too much. 7 workers versus 13 lost, as the Hellions now move over to attempt and take down this hatchery off over here. Zerglings are still activating this Zelnaga tower. A slightly larger mineral army for Violet, but Goody with a much stronger gas army. We'll see how all of this unfolds. A new command center now being built. Needs to lift off and perhaps land down over here, perhaps upgrading to a planetary fortress, as another Nidus worm was the Nidus worm was finally destroyed here just moments ago. The Hellions still looking to perhaps take down this hatchery. The hatchery down to 300 hit points. It looks like it could finish, but it would be very, very low on hit points, and then it just end up maybe being re-cancelled, as the Zerglings now trying to swarm in. The Zerglings poking apart at these Hellions here. The Hellions are going to be able to torch off the rest of them, as down they go. And now this hatchery still at 400 hit points, as a large doom drop coming in. Let me go ahead and rewind that. You can see this giant drop now coming in from the far side. Roaches just unlanding, or just landing here into the main base. The roaches are just going after units, and now the siege tanks, because they are in siege mode, unable to re-engage at all. The overlords still carrying a lot of units, perhaps going to start dropping straight up onto these SCVs as well, perhaps causing a bit of splash damage. Roaches are now battling up against siege tanks here. Roaches battling up over here as well, trying to finish off some missile turrets and some supply depots. The overlords are now simply doing a flyby, going to run away, and Violet with a very bad exchange there. He needs to get a lot more units. He's now getting 36 more roaches, so he's going to be able to replenish his forces much more quickly, as now 55-50 versus 21-25. How is this all going to work out, as the overlords now need to back off? That was a really just a bad play by Violet. Violet perhaps getting a little bit over eager, trying to go in with one fell swoop. He had the economic advantage, but now it looks like Goody, with just such an amazing mech army, may be actually able to finish this off. No drones being transferred off over here. We are finally teching the tier 3. And the weapons upgrades are just upgraded out at 2-2. A massive a massive mech force now rolling out. That is a lot of siege tanks. 17 siege tanks, 3 Thors. Mutalisk would not be able to do very much of anything, as the roaches are now trying to engage, but the roaches cannot engage up against those siege tanks. Siege tanks attack more quickly and have superior range. Siege tanks now continuing this push. Roaches being forced to pull away and now back off. Where is that Raven? There's a scanner sweep. Roaches now scampering away once more, going after a siege tank. There's a quick siege tank kill, as Violet is back up to 198. Taking a look at the army sizes, 6,000 versus 5,000 now. SCVs, this one siege tank will get destroyed. It looks like there are going to be a couple roaches now dropping into the main base, and this is now turning into a base race. Base race against a Terran player, never a good situation to be in if you are Zerg or Protoss, as the Terran player can simply lift off all of his buildings and try to hide them somewhere else. There is no anti-air or no way to attack air right now, as the queens are now just simply making their way down and getting absolutely decimated. Siege tanks are upgraded 2-2. Gonna try to take down all of the main tech over here in the Zerg base. Drones have been picked up, and we'll see what's going to be happening here, as for some reason Goody is not lifting off his buildings. If he lifted off all of his buildings, he would perhaps be able to live and fight another day, as he has mules in order to build additional, just mine additional resources. Overlords now finally running back. We'll see anything in production. Violet has plenty of resources in production. Meanwhile, Goody has a massively large army, as we now see roaches just down over here. Are they going to be able to finish off the rest of these supply depots and perhaps the engineering bays as well? Siege tanks and Hellions finishing off these units over here. We do have a couple drones, but though burrowed here, and these drones could come back to haunt Goody. Violet at 150 compared to Goody's 117. Goody is supply blocked though, as the roaches now finish off even more supply depots, further putting Goody behind. SCV count looks not very good at all, and where are those buildings all going is the key question. And where did all the purple buildings go? The purple buildings, I'm not quite sure where all the purple buildings went. There are a couple of purple buildings over here. They are not on fire. Last of the supply depot is now going to get taken down. Hatchery over here will get destroyed. A Hellion now coming off over here. Overlords are over here as well. The drones could grow up and be a hatchery down over here. It's exactly what needs to be done in order to not get destroyed. Mutalisk now going after a couple of these Hellions. So the Hellions are all going to get taken out, but a Viking now making its way in. So 3 Mutalisks perhaps going up against a Viking would be a good bet, but not, for some reason, not doing that. Going straight after the buildings perhaps. And yes, 1 orbital command now taking a lot of damage. So Goody, he needs to get some SCVs to start repairing this. Not quite sure why this SCV isn't repairing. No more minerals. Perfectly legitimate reason why, as the orbital command now down to 700 hit points, and now it is turning into a pure base race. Violet getting enough Mutalisks, and for some reason we see that the Thors are not staying with those buildings. That is going to be the problem. The orbital command now going to be destroyed in just a second. There it goes. And now going to start to burn down, knowing that there's not much that can be done. Now trying to take down the rest of the buildings and perhaps trying to get them on fire. 1 factory already on fire, a 2nd factory on fire, the 3rd factory all on fire as well. So these buildings with no way to be repaired are going to all burn to a crisp. Back over here, there's 1 siege tank. There are 2 extractors left, and I think this will be the game for Violet, as Violet getting up just enough Mutalisks to finish off the rest of these buildings. 3 factories now simply burning in the skies. It's going to quickly turn down to 2 factories. Now 1 factory, and perhaps letting the timer take them down. Roaches now trying to engage, but the Roaches engaging against the siege tanks. Not that important of a battle, as Violet has left the game. Wait, what happened? Okay, the last. Okay, no GG. I believe Goody actually lost his last factory, which was off over here, and the Mutalisk won, and Violet leaves the game, giving Violet a 1-0 advantage in this series. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.